Well, I couldn't pass up on this deal. 97 328i, $100. Doesn't run, but I've had this car before, so hopefully I'll be able to get the thing running. Good little project. All right, the AAA guy just finished dropping the car in the spot off his flatbed. So let's take a little walk around this car and see what it is. It's got some pretty cool wheels on it. Got some cool reflective tint on the rears. Got a little rust spot on the hood, missing a fog light. Kidney grill is kind of needs to be put back in its little slots. Got some rust over here and some house paint. That wheel needs some air. Windshield's cracked. Let's take a look inside. I haven't even looked in here yet. Okay, I thought that was locked for a second. Door panel's not bad. Missing that little thingy there. Oh, here it is. Just slides into there. That's cool. Oh, that's not good. Looks like we had some critters in here. Rat Hotel. Oh, wow. Look at that frickin'. That needs to come out. Okay. Hey, nice wood grain. I think this car only had 90,000 miles on it though. But the guy said, I hope that releases the hood. The guy said it was his friends and he moved to Seattle. And they redid all the gaskets on the engine, but then ran out of time, so they didn't finish it. Well, there it is, 2.8 liter straight six. Good Lord. I hope there's not any more rats living in here. I'm gonna have to just take this whole thing apart because they're probably all in the intake. Look at that. They probably got in that little hole, and I might suck a rat into the engine and blow it out the tailpipe. But there she is. $100. Can't go wrong. I mean, probably sell these wheels for $200. Let's look in the trunk, see what kind of story we got in here. Yikes. 6 CD changer. No battery. Rear seat. Mouse hotel. All right, well, looks like I'm gonna have to do some cleaning up. I don't have a shop vac. I need to go buy one now to suck up all the turds. Hopefully this whole car is not one big turd. We'll let you know how it goes, I guess. All right, I think I'm gonna start the engine. I'm gonna just take this kind of hood insulation off. It's in decent shape on certain parts, but then right here where the rats got in, it's just all saggy, and I don't know, I'll just buy another one or leave it kind of bare. And then I'm just gonna start taking off all the top parts of the engine, because I do not trust anything the guy said, because anything that looks like this, I mean, you just can't trust the person that any gasket was actually redone or rebuilt, Craigslist rebuild. So yeah, I'm gonna get started, probably put on a mask and get some gloves and bring the trash can over and start getting all these turds out of here and leaves, and get this hood insulation off so that it just stops shedding all the asbestos or whatever the crap this is. All right, I got the covers off just to see if there was any rats living underneath the coil cover. Got the hood insulation off. It was pretty nasty underneath, a bunch of rat poop and stuff. But I think I'm just gonna try to put this all back together. You know, obviously the throttle body goes in there. I gotta find some bolts. I found a couple in the car as I'm just digging around, a bunch of other goodies. Obviously got some door accessories in there, more rat poop. I don't know if they're having ignition problems, but I've seen this before on BMWs where, you know, the ignition switch goes there. You need the key for the anti-theft, so all you gotta do is put the key in there. This little ring here reads the chip in the key, lets you know that this is the right key to start the car. And all you gotta do is just put a screwdriver in there, and this is how you can start the car. So I might just try that instead of putting it back together. But look down here, there's got some, these might be some throttle body bolts. They're stuck to the freaking carpet from all the rat piss. But there's one. There's two. Just gotta look around here and find some more. Some back there possibly. So yeah, I'm just looking for bolts in here. Got my mask on, COVID mask. So yeah, I'm gonna try to put the throttle body back on, get all the hoses all put back together. Looks like I got some free socket extensions. These hoses just go on the throttle body right there. I don't know why they plugged those up. Or I think those might actually be coolant hoses to try to warm up the throttle body or keep it cool. I forget. Or they might be vacuum hoses as well. So yeah, I got some free socket extensions. Gonna put the throttle body on, put these hoses in. This is the traction control throttle body. This hose will just go down on there. So put it back together. I might try to start it today. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I might just pull a battery out of one of the trucks and see if it'll fire, or at least turn over. Actually, before I do that, I think I'm gonna take the coils out, take the spark plugs out, and then just crank it over and see what happens, because if there is crap in the intake, I don't want it combusting in the engine and causing issues. So take the spark plugs out, look at them, crank it over, blow all the dust out. I'll let you know. All right, I got the engine all back together. I used my truck battery, put it on. I think this is normal, just the hazards flash when a new battery's been plugged in after it's been out for a while. Posts are on the wrong side, but I was able to get it to work. So I'm gonna hop in and crank it over because I got all the spark plugs out. They don't look too great. Some of them have some corrosion on it. Seems like some water might have got inside, but sprayed the inside of the cylinders with some penetrating oil, because I don't know when the last time this thing's been turned over, but I'm gonna give it a whirl on the inside and see what happens. All right, got all the electronics on. Dash lights came on. I don't know if it has no gas in it. That'd be actually better if it didn't. So yeah, I'm gonna stick this in here, see if it cranks over. No dice. I don't know if the starter relay's out. Battery's not big enough to start it. Maybe the brake. You put your foot on the brake. It's disgusting. You gotta sit in here. Still nothing. shift through all the gears. Window rolls down. All right. Got no startability. All right, well, I put my truck battery in. Check that it has voltage with my handy dandy Harbor Freight. I've had this thing for like 10 years, never changed the battery, still works great. Got 12.8 volts there. I checked the power under this. There's a main feed there, I had 12.8 volts there. And then I checked the power block here. I got 12.8 there, so I need to find out where the starter relay is, because there's nothing in there. There's a couple big ones right in this general area, but there's no label to tell you if it's a starter relay. So I'm gonna get on the Googles and see if I can find a starter relay, and I'm hoping that's the problem. If not, I'm gonna have to take the intake out and change the starter, or possibly change the ignition switch, because I did a little screwdriver trick into there with the key in the ignition. The car turns on, windows roll down, the fan blower is turning on and working, so it's either that switch is bad when you go to hit the starter position, or there's a relay somewhere. Looks like the guy was maybe trying to find it as well, based on how much stuff is taken apart in here. But that's my next adventure. I think there might be some stuff under the dash over there, so I'm gonna Google it first. That way it's easier to figure out where it's at, because I do not want to be digging around in here until I clean up all this rat poop. All right, I got the dash out. So there's a 10 millimeter right there that holds the main part in. Basically what you got to do is pop the little light out, and then you can fit a socket in there, get that 10 millimeter out. There's 2 Phillips screws on the bottom that these little ridges slide into on each side. So those are 2 Phillips head, and then there's 2 more Phillips on each side, and then up here 2 more that you kind of look through the vent to see right in there, and those other 2 down here. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Phillips screws, 1 10 millimeter, and then you just grab it, slide it out. But obviously you can see in here mine's effed up because of some rats. So I'm gonna clean all that junk out, the rat's nest, and then I believe the EWS module that I'm looking for is this big yellow one down here. And the mod is just to take the 2 thickest wires, which you just cut them and then join them together. That'll bypass the EWS. Then I'm gonna try to start the car again. We'll see what happens. All right, I got those 2 cables just kind of, zip together for the time being, because I don't know if this is gonna work or not, but I'm gonna give it a shot. So those were the 2 thickest wires coming out of that yellow connection there, which is the EWS module. You can see on mine it was the black with a yellow stripe and the green with a black stripe. So just cut those 2, took the wires down, tied them together. So yeah, put the battery back in from the truck. I got a jumper cable on it just in case. I'm gonna turn that on. I'm gonna turn that on again. Here we go, it's juicing. I got my spark plugs out last night. I just plugged the holes with some paper towels so nothing crawled in there. So we've got all spark plugs clear so that this thing can crank over easier. also ended up just putting the ignition back into the tumbler area because I don't think that was the issue. So got the key. Let's see if this mod works. All right, well, it's at least still turning the ignition switch. Oh wow, I think I just heard the fuel pump. Let's see if it cranks over with that EWS mod. Wow. I am impressed. That actually worked. Holy cow. That thing was cranking over smooth. Didn't hear any weird pops or bangs or grinds, so dude, I'm pumped. I'm gonna put the spark plugs back in, the coils in, probably go get some gas because I think that gauge probably is working on the fuel tank. It says it's empty, so dang, that's awesome. I'll get everything back together and I'll try to crank it and see if this $100 Rat Hotel BMW fires. Well, we had a Rat Hotel. I've already found 2 of these in the car. Now there's another one in action. Giant snail slug thingy. I don't want this. All right, I got the engine put back together. This is the moment of truth. Okay, I'm not seeing the rev tachometer go up when I start it, so that's like a common crank sensor not working or cam sensor. I'm not sure, I'm guessing crank sensor. But after digging around under the glove box, I found a few wires that were chewed through from rats. I spliced them back together. Now the rear driver window actually rolls up, so one of those wires was for that. I'm thinking that the crank sensor's still not working, but I mean, I got the MAF sensor unplugged. That wouldn't prevent it from starting. It would just, you know, still idle on cold loop circuit or whatever. And yeah, I did take the DME out the other day, checked that wasn't, you know, damaged or nothing. I didn't see anything bad there. So I'm gonna take this boot off, get the crank sensor on a 97 328i. It's back down under the starter there, so I'm gonna get that out and see what that looks like, because I do have a Autel scanner I ordered so that I can actually plug it into the OBD2 port and look at the crank sensor, but that's gonna be a week till it gets here. So I'm gonna just bite the bullet and take some of this stuff off and see if I can get that crank sensor out and just see what it looks like. I mean, there was rats in here too, obviously, you know, so maybe they got down under there and chewed through the crank sensor wire. Obviously, you know, I took the coil out, grounded it down to the frame, had my girlfriend crank it over, didn't see any spark. So the 2 probable causes, I'm guessing, are the crank sensor or a bad DME, but I'm hoping it's the crank sensor. That's a less expensive fix. So I'm gonna get that out and we'll see what it looks like. All right, after some long tugging, I got the crank sensor out. Once you get the nut out, this thing's in there pretty good. So I was just trying to get my fingers underneath the tabs to pull straight out, but it was suctioned in there pretty good. So I just like twist it back and forth, loosen it up, then try to get your fingers under it and just pull it out. But to get the nut out was a pain in the ass. So I have my long extension here, 2 long extensions onto a swivel, and that really helps, so you don't have to stick the ratchet all the way down in there. And just taped on my 5mm hex head, Allen head, and I was able to get it out. So if that trick kind of can work for you, great, because I was trying to get down in there with the ratchet, but there's just no, you can't get any leverage. So I had to get, you know, hex head, a couple extensions to a swivel thing, and then 2 long ratchets, so that once you get it down in there, you get your hand down in there to hold it, and then your left hand can be up here pulling as much leverage as you want, and that's how I got that nut free. But man, good. If you got big forearms, freaking eating your spinach like Popeye, good luck getting your hand down in there, because that is a pain in the butt. So I'm lucky I didn't get any open cuts, but just having your hand there against the throttle body, or your forearm against the throttle body, it's kind of painful. But I got it out. I'm gonna look how to bench test it, probably do some ohm resistance type of thing to see if that's bad. All right, so yesterday I got my crank sensor out of the 97 328i. I thought you could use a multimeter set to ohms and check the resistance to see if crank sensor is good, but I guess on these three wire Hall effect sensors, there isn't really a resistance test. So I'm going to go through my diagnostic steps, and I'm going to take the connecting wire out. I think I can just pull it out through here and fish it up through one of these spots here. And I'm going to check if I have a ground, a 12-volt source, and then there should also be like a 5-volt reference point. So I'm going to get that all set up to check. All right, so I got key on to the second position. On these cars, brown is always ground, so you go in there, put that, I can't do it with one hand, but I did it already and it works. So put your negative on the ground, put your red cable on the red pin, you should get 12, and then on the yellow pin you should get 5 volts. I was getting that, so I know my connector is good and the wiring there is good, no rats have chewed through it. So now I'm gonna plug the sensor in, and I guess if you plug it in and run a metal object and touch it to there, it should go to 0 volts. So I'm gonna try that out. Okay, well, I probably did this the wrong way, but I'm just doing testing. I don't have back probing pins to try to get into the slots there in the actual connector, so I just cut the yellow wire, twisted them together, plugged the crank sensor back in, grounded out my black cable onto the coil pack right here, which is a good ground, and then key on. I was getting 5 volts here still, so the connection was good. And I was basically running something metal in front of there, and it's supposed to jump to 0 and then go back to 5 volts when there's nothing by it. But it was really sporadic. It was like holding 5 volts even with a piece of metal in front of it, and then all of a sudden dropping down to 0. And then I put the metal back in front of it and it wouldn't move. So I think that I have a bad crank sensor. So I'm gonna go order a new one. I'm gonna redo the test to see if it actually jumps back more efficiently. And that will rule out the crank sensor as my diagnosis. So I'm gonna head to parts store, grab a new one, redo this test, make sure it's actually jumping back and forth like it should. When I put a little piece of metal in front of it, take it off, put a piece of metal in front of it, take it off. So hopefully it does that. If not, I don't know, it could be a crappy, cheap, scope. So not a scope, but a multimeter. But I don't know, I'm thinking it's a crank sensor. So I'm hoping once I get that tested out, put it in, the car actually fires. All right, I just picked up my new crank sensor. I just went to AutoZone and got a Duralast one. It was about 48 bucks. I did my little voltage test again, grounded the negative wire to the bolt there, put the positive wire on the signal wire that I exposed by just cutting and stripping this yellow wire and twisting it together, and then ran my metal, tool here against the end here. And what was cool is that I noticed that this one's a little bit magnetic too, even. See how it's following it? Whereas the other one, the old one, wasn't doing that. So I got a pretty good feeling that this is gonna work. Because look at this one. Not really magnetic. So, and the one was, and it was jumping back and forth better from 5 volts to 0. So I'm hoping that this works and fixes it. All right, this is kind of the moment of truth. I got the new crank sensor in. Let's see if my diagnostics were correct. Still no fuel pump action. I don't know what's going on with that. Or the fuel sender isn't working. I put 3 gallons in. It should be more than empty, but let's crank it after putting that crank sensor in and see what happens here. Pray for the best. Give me some luck here. That's frustrating. Damn it. Well, I'm just finding more crap because still cranking no start. So I'm back at the fuel tank because my fuel sender is not working, even though I put 3 gallons in it. And look at what I found here. Look at these wires. Chewed through, busted, not connected. So I'm gonna disconnect the battery, splice them back together. Hopefully my fuel level sender will work. I'm pretty sure this is the supply to the fuel pump, which just due to the bigger wires. So even though the sensor's not working, the pump should probably work, hopefully. And also I got a, all right, well, would you look at that? I got fuel now after connecting 2 broken wires. That makes sense. I'm just thinking that there's just so many broken, chewed through wires on this car. It's gonna be more of a bigger diagnostic digging around than I had hoped for, but I'm fixing little things at a time. So I'm gonna try cranking it now that I don't know, at least fix the fuel gauge. I'm still not hearing the fuel pump for some reason, so let me see what I can figure out. All right, well, after chasing my tail and thinking that I had a bad crank sensor and that's why my car is not starting, I got on the forums, did some more research, found out that just hot wiring those 2 cables on the EWS module, yes, it will make your car turn over, but the EWS, in fact, controls your fuel injection and the spark. So no wonder the car's cranking but not starting. So I'm gonna take my DME out. I found a guy on eBay who will flash it and delete the EWS system from the DME. Only 40 bucks. So I'm gonna do that. You could also just buy a new EWS module, but I'd rather just get that whole thing deleted off the car. I'm not really worried about having a security system on this car anymore. Yeah, and then once you get that module or the EWS deleted off the DME, you still have to twist those 2 wires together. So I'm gonna do that, and hopefully that gets the car to start. All right, so I'm pretty sure I needed DME flashed with the EWS delete, but I just want to make sure before I go spending some money, because obviously if you've been watching this video, you know this thing has been rat infested. There's been rat poop everywhere. Some of the stuff hasn't worked. I've reconnected some wires and then it has worked. But look at what I just fucking found here. Dead mouse. All freaking disgusting. All this stuff under the dash has just been chewed through, eaten up. This thing is supposed to have heated seats. They weren't working. Well, come to find, a bunch of the wires for the seats were all chewed through, so I'm gonna end up just taking this whole dash off, because I know they got back there just from being under the glove box. I can see in the back that there was just rat's nests. And so I might just end up stripping this car down and turn it into a track car. So, or just a basic car, no AC, none of the electronic stuff, just get this thing running. But got my gloves on, I got my mask on. I'm gonna take this dead fossilized rat out, vacuum all this crap up. Man, $100 car, this is what you get. All right, I just got my DME back from a guy off eBay who offers the EWS delete. So got that in, got the DME in, got those 2 wires that are for the starter that go into the EWS plug connector. Took those out, pigtailed them together just with a simple you know, construction electrical wiring thing. Might redo it later if I see if it works, but let's give it a shot, see what happens. First time starting it up, we'll see how it goes. All right, well, at least it fired. Didn't crank over. Oh, it wants to go. Why is it not going? Could be that Duralast crank sensor I put in, I don't know. There we go. Uh-oh. It's running, baby. Woo! Oh, shit, okay. That's awesome. I'm kind of feathering the throttle because I don't want it to die. Got a check engine light and I think that's a transmission light. Hey, I can see the dash display a little better, the odometer. 124, 790 it says. Alright, I'm gonna let off the throttle and see what happens. Let off slowly, see if it can idle by itself. Alright, I'm off. Oh, okay. Wants to die. It's coming back up. Alright, it's idling, baby. See what my Autel scan tool says. Crankshaft sensor and mass airflow sensor. Well, right now I have the mass airflow sensor unplugged because when I was looking at my scan tool and looking at the live data, and when the mass airflow sensor was plugged in, it wasn't reading any voltage, and even as you're cranking in, it's sucking air and it wasn't reading anything, so I just unplugged it, and so it seems to actually idle better without it. But yeah, I might have to order one off eBay. But damn, here we go. The right side seems to have lower compression than that middle exhaust pipe. I'm not seeing any smoke though that would indicate, you know, burning oil or burning coolant. It might be too early to tell. There it is though, she's running. I am pumped up. $100 E36. Took me a while to figure it out with all that rat wiring mess and EWS crap, but got it figured out and at least it's running. So just got to do some more tuning up probably on it. Get it roadworthy again. Let's go. All I can say is don't give up. Just keep
trying to figure things out. Get a scan tool if you can. I mean, this one I got off eBay was pretty expensive, but it's a Bluetooth Autel. You can scan many other cars, do a bunch of live tests, watch live data. So that one was $400 I think off eBay. So if you're working on cars a lot and can maybe even diagnose other cars for people and make some money off it. But let me know what you guys think. Thanks, guys. All right, well, I'm adding coolant, or just water, to the expansion tank. And look at all this rusty just crap coming out. So this thing definitely needs a coolant flush. But I'm gonna let it keep running right now and try to clean out some rusty water for the time being. I'm just putting in rainwater basically. So let that run for a little bit, see if the thermostat opens. I think it is, because I already added in about half of a 5-gallon bucket. Alright, I think my head gasket thoughts are avoided. I don't see any bubbling in the expansion tank. I don't see water coming out of the where the spark plugs are. That's what's happening before. It's cooling water. So I think that it just had an air bubble because it didn't have any coolant in it at first. It just took about 3 gallons. So good news. I think I might have a healthy motor. I am stoked that it's running, idling on its own. I'm just going to get a mass airflow sensor probably. Replace that Duralast crank sensor, because those are the 2 codes I have on my scan tool. Alright, in the video before I had some trouble codes with the mass airflow sensor and the crank sensor. I just took the MAF sensor out and cleaned it with some MAF sensor spray. And it started up a little faster, but it's still idling really bad. It's just hesitating, not even, it's just misfiring. Let's give it a little throttle. And it died. So let's do some diagnosis, and let's go unplug the MAF sensor and then start up and see how it does with that. That can kind of prove that you have a bad MAF sensor, because the car will run just on some stored values in the engine computer without that sensor plugged in. So let's see how it idles now when I unplug that. It might take longer to crank, but let's see. All right, still idling kind of the same. I got my foot on the throttle. So it's off the throttle. Well, way better than with the MAF sensor plugged in. So another trick you can do just to make sure that the MAF sensor is bad is plug it in now that the engine's idling. See if it changes anything. It should kind of like sputter. Zero change. All
Alright, it had zero change when you plug it in as to having it unplugged. The car's actually idling better with it out now. I did buy a not a remanufactured, but a aftermarket one off eBay for 40 bucks. So let's go get that one, plug that one in, see how it does there. Then I can really say that it was a bad MAF sensor and get one thing taken care of, and then after this I might put the original crank sensor in instead of the Duralast one I got at AutoZone. Okay, here's the new MAF sensor I got off eBay for 40 bucks. Looks like it comes in a nice box. Everybody on the forums was saying don't use anything but a Siemens or OEM one, but this one had good reviews, and for only $40 instead of $140. We'll see how it goes. I mean, all the forums that I read, they were all dated to like 2012 when they were talking about it. So 13 years later, hopefully the remanufacturers got a little better and got things figured out on this aftermarket stuff to where this thing will actually run just as good as the Siemens one. I mean, it looks like a nice piece, and everything looks legit. But there's only one way to figure it out. Put it in and let's see how it idles. Okay, I got the new mass airflow sensor in. Let's see what happens here. Well, it's even worse than before, but this could be my stupid Duralast crank sensor as well. Alright, well, it took a while to start, but I think that's because the crank sensors, Duralast one seems to be idling a lot better with it plugged in as to unplugged. So I think that fixed the issue with the mass airflow sensor. I might grab my scan tool and see now if I'm getting that mass airflow sensor code again, or if I'm just getting the crank sensor code. So got one more step to kind of figure out. Alright, I got my Autel scan tool. Let's see what the MAF sensor says. DME. Let's read the codes. Okay, still got it. Let's do that. Escape. Let's look at the live data and see what the MAF sensor is putting out. Alright, signal air mass flow sensor. Looks like it's changing rapidly. Let's give it some throttle and see if it goes up. Well, it's definitely reading better than the one before. The one was stuck at 0.098 volts, so this one is responding, which is good, and the wiring is good, so I'm happy about that. I think if I erase the codes, that one shouldn't come back. Codes have been fully erased. Okay, the check engine light went away. Nothing's coming back right away, so that's good. Let's read the codes again, see what happens. Alright, no mass airflow sensor fault. Just the crankshaft sensor. So, is it a bad Duralast one? Are they people on the forums right about using only OEM sensors and don't use Duralast? Maybe. Let's take that one out. Put the original one that was in there
because I originally thought that was why my car wasn't starting, so I thought it was a faulty sensor, but turned out, if you've been watching this video, it was the EWS module, now the mass airflow sensor. So let's get that crank sensor out, put the old one in, and then we'll clear codes and see if it comes back. But right now I'm happy. It's idling a lot better. It's just when you start it, it kind of like doesn't get that signal from the crank sensor, so it doesn't fire right away. But I'm very happy with the idle and the $40 mass airflow sensor that I've got. Okay, I got the Duralast crank sensor out and the original BMW one in. To do that, I'm able to squeeze my hand under here. I mean, I do scratch my arm on the throttle plate, but you just take this boot off, take the mass flow sensor out, and you're able to, once that secondary boot is off of the throttle plate and down, you're able to get your hand back there. And it's a 5mm Allen wrench. And if you've watched my last videos, I just use these extensions. I get the Allen wrench in there on the edge of here. Then I use these extensions to be able to reach at the top here and swivel it off. Once you crack it loose, hopefully then you'll be able to just get your hand in there and turn it with your fingers. So, moment of truth. Let's see if that new crank sensor makes the car start faster, and also maybe the check engine light will go away by itself. So let's see. Whoa. What? That was actually freaking amazing. Holy shit. All right, don't buy Duralast crank sensor. They were right on the forums about that one. That fired right up, and now actually my transmission light has gone away. That's crazy, because the other code I was having on the scan tool when I was scanning the transmission control module, it was saying no signal from PCM to the transmission control module, and that's probably because that crank sensor wasn't giving out a good signal, so the transmission didn't know, how fast the motor is turning. Dang, that is freaking sick. I am pumped now. It is running great. Started right up, idling perfect with the new MAF sensor. This thing's ready to be driven. I think that's the end of this video on this car for now, because engine's purring like a kitten, so I don't know what else there is to do except kind of doll this thing up and get rid of the cracked windshield, probably put a new headliner in it, maybe reupholster those A pillars or B pillars, whatever they're called. Yes! Let me know in the comments if you got questions. I'll try to answer them and help you guys out. Thanks for watching.